Dr. Rico, Dr. Chronicles, Vol.1. Now we're going to discuss an overview of all the Memphis styles together. First being foremost, Godfather, Gangsta Walk. Second, Juking, Bucking, Chopping. And then the newest one is Icing. Understanding that like Gangsta Walking itself, not going to get into the time periods. I told you, like, you want to get into the time, which is deeper into the history. Definitely like check out the DVDs and check out Good to Walk CD, History of Gangsta Walk, things of that nature. I will say that it was 80s when the Gangsta Walk came about. It was moving around the dance floor in many different directions, but everything in Memphis is characterized by a bounce. If you're not bouncing, first and foremost, you're not doing a Memphis style. Regardless if you're doing a movement that came from the Memphis style, if you don't really have that bounce with your movement, you're not doing the Memphis style. So we moved from Gangsta Walking to the early 90s, and we get into a more slowed down sadistic sound. That's where we get into juking, a lot of smooth out movement of the bounce, glides, waves, tuts, steps still from Gangsta Walking, and you get smooth, but you also still have that crunkness to it. So we move farther into the generation of time, and we get into the later 90s, where we're realizing that now the music is getting a lot more crunk. Like, okay, you still got Gangsta Walking going, you still got juking going, but now we get into a whole new dance style where it's like, hey, people are just getting bucked. They're taking those original movements and they're making them larger. Everything is getting bigger. There's no more. It's not, the small movements are actually kind of going away, and you're getting much larger movement. And this is where we get into the actual bucking period. Throughout all periods, there have always been a lot of battles. So it's not to say that bucking had more battles than another one, but bucking is where you really change. It wasn't so much about coming in now and being smooth. Like, it's like you got to come in there with some energy, and like you got to come in there with some powerful big move. Otherwise, you're gonna get ran off the dance floor. So at the same time, bucking was happening in one part of the city. It was happening throughout the whole city, but definitely mostly in one part. You actually get chopping happening in another part of the city, or the rest of the city. And chopping is like the same flow and feel of bucking, but now you get a lot more stiffer, a lot more animated, but with that same crunk. So not animated in the sense of a robot, just animated in a sense of like just don't look real. Like the crunkness don't look real. Like, this man is really this crunk, but he ain't all loose like bucking and like throwing himself around with momentum. It's like he just sticking it, like really crunk. And the music changes, so now you get a more chopped up version of I don't want to say chopped up version of bucking. It's just chopping in general. So we move into the very, very more recent style, which is icing, which is actually a combination of all of the styles, but it takes a lot of new technique, a lot of new strength in the ankle, a lot of new strength in a lot of new technique, should I say, in the actual manipulation of being on the toes, which is actually the front of your shoe, and a lot of more understanding how to work the torso and do a lot of off the ground with 1 foot type movements. It's actually like, you think of icing as a floating step. Just think of literally as a floating steps that have floated off the ground. Okay, so to fully quickly understand how each style developed, as the sound change, the style change. Each style has a bounce. The Gangsta Walk bounce has been throughout the entire Memphis movement, but other bounces have come around and come about. Inside of each style, you have several different styles. You got several people who have their own way and style of Gangsta Walking, juking, chopping, bucking, icing, and so on. So what you have now is a blend and mixture of people doing Memphis style. So you may get a step from Gangsta Walking followed by a powerful leg move from bucking, like dropped in something smooth from juking, and then ended with a powerful spin or something that may be influenced from icing, and then the finishing punchline with the swag of a chop, with a chop move. So now you get a mixture of the entire Memphis styles into one. I'm not gonna say that everybody does this, but you definitely have people out there who have a mixture overview of Memphis dance styles. I hope to have shed some light to you guys about the how the different styles develop. Once again, the Dr. Chronicles are more or less to answer questions from fans and viewers. So a lot of information I will put up is going to be broad, but definitely to give you some insight. And then, like anything else, if you truly want to know and understand the dance style, then you check out some of the DVDs, you check out some of the actual tutorials, some of the instructional DVDs, and also you check out different things that you will see coming up. I recently did an interview with MTV that'll be showing actually beginning of February or March, sometime in 2009, sometime around the spring of 2009. That's actually going to tell you a little bit more about the Memphis dance style and give you some insight there too. So that being said, thank you for tuning into the Dr. Chronicles, and remember, keep the bounce alive. That's what the game is.